We are back. Welcome everybody. It's now time for the next case. This will be number 8 in Travel Through Time. And as you can see, there are only 24 more cases after, including this one. Houston, we have a problem. We sure do. Alright, Matthew, I think we're making good progress. We're following protocol for when a time machine is sabotaged, which means contacting the present by any means necessary. In our case, that meant writing Chief Scott a letter explaining what's happened. We secured the letter in a safe deposit box. The bank will notify the chief about its existence in 2029. The chief will then send us a rescue ship that will be guided by the beacon Kai made. But why did we leave New York? Well, since Time's machine will have to transport ours back, it's going to be massive, so it'll need lots of room to land. Which brings us here, to the Space and Aeronautics Research Agency, or SARA. Kai will secretly set up the beacon and then we'll wait for the pickup time later today. I'm glad we're leaving soon. All the 60 spy stuff is making me worry about our true identities being discovered. Right. The Americans and the Soviets are in a Cold War, so there's a lot of tension on both sides. Quite, darlings. The two countries tried proving their superiority over the other through means other than war, including a space race. Matthew, you go check out Sarah's launch pad with Zara. That's where Kyle set up the beacon, so we need to make sure no one's around, even this early. No problem, Amy. Let's get to the launch pad, Matthew. Oh. We're not gonna get the first star. Or am I? Yep, I'm going to. Holy cow, Matthew, you're right. There's a dead body here. Look at those marks on his face. Should we... Mission Control, the cops have arrived. We are go for investigation. Officers, Thomas Segan, Sarah's best engineer, has been murdered. On the day I send men to the moon, it's catastrophic for my career as mission chief. The moon? So today is July 16th? Affirmative. This murder means my mission is on hold, so you must solve it ASAP. I'll be around if you need me. I can't believe the mission chief smokes on the launch pad. Man, the 60s sure was a different time. Anyway, he may want us to solve the murder, Matthew, but we had another job to do. Let me check with Amy. Yes, Amy, we're in a bit of a jam. There's a body on Sarah's launch pad and... Right, we met the mission chief and he said the launch is postponed, so... Okay, I'll tell Matthew. Amy says we need to solve the murder. She's not aware if it did actually happen in our original history, but the murder is putting the historic launch at risk. Which means it's our job as time detectives to solve the murder and protect our history. Let's start with those broken pieces. One of them has the defibrillator symbol on it, a machine that's meant to shock a person out of cardiac arrest. And you're right, the marks on the paddles match those on the victim's face. It must be the murder weapon. quick, Matthew. Let's restore the defibrillator before sending it to the lab. And let's also talk to that mission chief. Houston, we got a murder to solve. Calls himself Harold Fooey. Or Fue, however you want to say it. I'm gonna get this thing out of the way. Here we go. Matthew, you've restored the defibrillator used on our victim. But one of the paddles is missing. Let's keep an eye out for it. Let's send the defibrillator to Theo. And this is 3 hours, and I need to get some stars. So sit tight, everybody. Okay, I got 9 of the stars here, so I should be in good shape. So let's talk to Harold Fooey. Let's make this quick, officers. Obviously, someone's trying to mess up this launch. They want to stop us from going to the moon. I'm supposed to call the president and tell him we have to reschedule, but I refuse. That will be the worst failure of my career as SARA mission chief. Sounds like you're under a lot of pressure leading this mission, but could you tell us more about the victim? Segan? He was the hardest working engineer here. Respected, efficient, a bit of a control freak. Do you know why the engineer was on the launch pad this morning? Segan sometimes worked on the rocket, but you'd usually find him here at his desk in the mission control room. Then Officer Matthew and I will take a look at his desk. Thank you, sir. No lucky find. Matthew, SARA's mission control room was the height of technology and science in its time. It's humbling to be in here. Right, what did you find? That's the victim's cabinet. It has his name on it. Let's get it open. And this is an astronaut's helmet. Cool, but whose? And what's it doing on our victim's desk? Oh, I think there's a name on it. Let's reveal the name on that helmet, Matthew. Moment, folks, while I get a few more stars. Okay, I got myself up to 11 stars, so should have enough to be able to do this. Five, four, five, four, five. Okay. Let's see. 5, 5, 6, 4, 4. Okay, 6, 5, 7, 5, 4. Sorry guys, it ran out of film time, but I got the cabinet open. Let's look through the victim's unlocked cabinet, Matthew. An FBI badge, Agent Bucky Johnson. What's this FBI badge doing in the victim's cabinet, Matthew? I agree, we should return it. The badge belongs to a certain Bucky Johnson. Bucky Johnson? What? Isn't he the news agent we met while investigating that murder in New York? Matthew, do you think this badge means that Bucky actually is an FBI agent? I guess it makes sense. What with all this Soviet spy stuff going on? Well, you had me fooled. Let's go talk to this FBI agent. Agent Johnson, we found your badge. Give me that, Officer Matthew. So you're the cops they put on that engineer's murder. Interesting. I was undercover when we last met. Made it easier to keep tabs on that Soviet spy whose murder you solved. Right, your news agent cover was very convincing. I would never have guessed you were part of the FBI. Now we're investigating another murder. Did you know Mr. Segan? Not really. I make sure no Soviets spy on our scientific prowess. I'm more interested in protecting his work than I was his person. Still, this is a terrible loss for our country. I hope the Soviets didn't have anything to do with it. We'll be sure to find whoever is responsible, Agent Johnson. Okay. Mark Hamilton. Matthew, this astronaut helmet belongs to a Mark Hamilton. His helmet was at our victim's desk, so they probably knew each other. Let's talk to this astronaut. Mr. Hamilton, Officer Matthew and I have some questions concerning Mr. Segan's murder. That nerdy guy? Shame he's dead. He looked up to me, you know, saw me for the hero that I am, the guy who's going to the moon. See, you gotta remind these scientific types who's the real boss. They like hearing it too. I'm sure. You must be bummed that the mission's postponed. I'm not worried. I have faith in my destiny, Officer Matthew. And we'll see you guys when these two are done. Okay, we are back. Let's get the results of the defibrillator first, since that finished first. Pretending to be a couple was fun, Zara, but it didn't give me a chance to show you my 60s style dance moves. Maybe we'll have time to go out again before we're rescued. Well, Matthew and I need to focus on this murder. But if you give us the results from the defibrillator we found next to the body, I'll owe you one dance. Cripes, you got a deal. I found skin cells from your victim on the remaining paddle of the defibrillator, so it's definitely your murder weapon. I also found traces of white wine, moonbeam to be exact. It seems your killer had some on their hands when they grabbed the defibrillator. The killer enjoys moonbeam. We'll be sure to catch them before the moon beams again. Zara, I've noticed you spent a lot of time in the tech room with Kai. Anything going on there? Oh, Janice. Kai and I are just friends. Let's focus on you. I saw you smoking a cigarette the other day. That's not allowed in the time machine. My dear, that wasn't a cigarette. It was cannabis. But enough about our unruly activities. You have a murder to solve before we get rescued. As you already know, Matthew, your victim was attacked with a defibrillator. But instead of placing the paddles on the chest, your killer held them against the victim's head until his brain fried. The victim tried to fight back. I found bruises on his arms and chest where the killer would have held him down. Your killer's obviously very fit to have been able to pin him down like that. The killer used muscle to commit murder, but Matthew will use brains to catch them. Matthew, I can't wait to see 2029. Penelope told me about the flying robots that bring you food. I've been teaching Nevitt about our present while you investigate, Matthew, and now she can't wait to go. Well, first, Matthew has to solve the murder. That way the moon landing will happen as it did in our history, and there will actually be flying robots. So how's the investigation going? Thomas Segan, a space engineer, was found dead on the launch pad. His brain was fried with a defibrillator. The mission chief is freaking out because this unsolved murder means postponing the moon landing mission. Whereas that astronaut Mark Hamilton only thinks of his own destiny. And then there's Bucky Johnson, who's actually an FBI agent, but he just spends his time talking about Soviet spies. It's pretty intense, and I really can't think of where else to search for clues. For once, an emergency that requires a doctor in history, not medicine. Matthew, I know exactly where you should go next. Okay. And we'll see you guys for Chapter 2 when we come back. Okay, we have come back. Let's start Chapter 2 of Houston, We Have a Problem. And we last left off with Orlando telling us where we have to go next. It's a little-known historical tidbit that Sarah employees would eat at the Rocket, a diner not far from here. It was a good change of scenery for them. I'm sure your victim would often go there himself, Matthew. Won't hurt to look, I guess. Matthew, let's get to the diner. Okay. Of course, I thought I'd have all stars collected a little sooner, but of course I've been involved in final weeks of school. See both things? Will I get the first star? Let's find out. Yep, just barely. Matthew, that's not our victim in this picture, but who's the lady, or that's our victim in this picture, but who's the lady with him? Let's look this gal up in the local police files. And this is some sort of 60s high-tech gadget. You're right, Matthew. It has a Sarah logo and what looks like a number. Can you make it out? Oh, I didn't even have to move my mouse. Unfortunately, I didn't get all the 9. I lost 1. Okay, Matthew, Kai's good with electronics, so let's send the machine with that mystery number to him. $12 hours. I doubt this is anybody we've seen before, but we'll see. Joan Segan. It's either the wife or sister or mother. According to local police files, the woman next to our victim in this picture is his sister. His younger sister, to be exact, Joan Segan. Okay, Matthew, let's tell Joan the bad news. What salad would you like in your burgers, loves? Lettuce or rocket? Unfortunately, we have bad news. I'm afraid your brother has been found murdered. Thomas? He's dead? Let me just put this tray down. Thomas was a wonderful brother, so smart and successful. I loved working near his office. He'd come in every day, which was touching, you know. Would your brother ever come with his colleagues? Most folks from the space program come here. Even the astronauts, like that hunky, muscular Mark Hamilton, you know. But Thomas was a loner, had his head up in the stars. So sad to think he won't see his rocket launch. Alright. I'll see you guys when the serial number's done. So for now, this is Matthew. Catch you again. Okay, we are back. Let's get the results of the serial number. Oh, Matthew, I didn't see you there. I'm watching a telenovela to take my mind off the sabotage. It's about a woman who solves crimes in outer space called Delitos Ultraterrestres. Sounds fun. Could I watch an episode with you sometime, Kai? Yeah, of course, Zara. And Matthew, I did look into that machine you sent me. It's a vintage calculator. Wow, things are really much bulkier back then. What was the number for? It seemed familiar, so I dove back into my college books. And after some research, I found what this number refers to. It's an employee's ID number, that of Betty Hawkins. She's an incredible mathematician, although it took years for people to recognize her work. So this mathematician forgot her calculator at the diner? Let's get it back to Betty Hawkins, Matthew, and ask her about our victim. Miss Hawkins, we found your calculator. Thank you, pet. I'm a little fuddled after hearing about Mr. Segan's murder. Did you know him well? Yes, we worked closely together. I'd analyze the velometer levels for air displacement, and Mr. Segan would incorporate the results into his studies. Any idea why he was on the launch pad early this morning? Mr. Segan probably had an epiphany during the night and wanted to test it out before the launch. I see. Thank you for your time, Miss Hawkins. And I agree, Matthew. Since we're back in the mission control room, we may as well give it another sweep. Got it. Well, at least one. Two, and boom. Got it. Matthew, you found a blueprint. Oh, there's a message. Let's see. It says, "Stop nagging or I'll blast you out of here, Thomas." This message was meant for our victim, but who threatened him? Gathering a sample of that powder should tell us. And this must be the victim's notebook, since it was on his desk. There's a lot scribbled on this page, but these coffee spills make it hard to read. Let's try revealing the annotations. What about these pieces of fabric? I agree, Matthew, we better put them back together. This investigation is taking off. Got it. Let's check out that powder from the blueprint under a microscope, Matthew, and discover who wrote the victim that message. Okay, and let's see, 2, 3. Ash from a cigarette. Wait, hold on a minute, folks. Thought I heard my name being called. Okay. According to your analysis, the powder on the blueprint was cigarette ash. Matthew, you're right. We've seen the mission chief chain smoking. So Fooey wrote this angry message to our victim. Or Fooey. I wonder how serious he was about the message. Let's go ask Fooey. Or Fway. Sir, we found this message you left Mr. Segan, telling him to stop nagging or you'd get him blasted out of here. What can I say? Sometimes people need reminding that they can be fired. So you're mad at Mr. Segan for not following your orders? Segan kept nagging me about doing more checks. He insisted on doing a final round of tests today, which could have postponed the launch. But surely you don't want to send people into space if you're not sure they'll come back. I was sure. I was confident. I'd go to the gym and enjoy some moonbeam knowing we were ready. Segan just had to relax, like me. Right, you definitely seem relaxed. Officer Matthew and I hope you didn't force Mr. Segan into relaxing eternally. Matthew, the victim's notebook has a doodle of an alien being interrogated by an FBI agent. That's kind of ridiculous. And look, the FBI agent is asking, "Are you Russian?" Looks like the victim was making fun of Agent Johnson. Let's go ask the agent if he knew about it, Matthew. Agent Johnson, did you know that Mr. Segan had a poor opinion of you? Officers, are you aware that we are in a space race? My focus is on building muscle and sniffing out Soviets. That's the thing, Mr. Segan. That's the thing. Mr. Segan used your Soviet goal as comic inspiration. Fine, if it'll get you off my back. When you're in this business, Officer Matthew, you learn to follow your gut. And mine was telling me that this punk was colluding with the Soviets. You know what I saw that swine do? Drink vodka, a Russian drink. Vodka? That's what you're basing your accusation on? No patriot would consume anything other than Moonbeam. Trust me, that Hamilton fellow and I drink it ourselves, and there are no two bigger patriots. Agent Johnson, no offense, but it sounds like you could use a few vacation days. Officer Matthew, I know my job. Segan was a Soviet ally, and I was this close to proving it. Got it. There's a footprint on it. This is a Sarah jacket on the label. But there's a footprint on it. Whose is it? I agree, Matthew. We best send the jacket to Theo. And I'll see you guys when this is done. Okay, we are back. Let's get the results of the victim's jacket from Theo. Zara, I've been wondering, how did you become a detective? Well, as a kid, I spent more time in a holding cell than at school. I became such a regular that I started getting friendly with the detectives and listened when they talk amongst themselves. It seemed pretty cool, so I ended up applying to become a cadet. I remember getting my first police jacket. Speaking of which, what did you learn from our victim's jacket? It took some digging, but the footprint comes from an army boot. The jacket itself was dusty with the same cement and dirt particles from the launch pad, which means that your victim was wearing his jacket when he got attacked. Your killer must have used their foot to hold your victim down. They're the ones wearing these boots. At least now we know our killer wears army boots, but they'll have to switch to prison boots soon enough. Well, Matthew, looking into Sarah's best engineer's murder definitely takes my mind off being stranded in time. We found Segan on the launch pad with his brain fried by a defibrillator. Who wanted him dead? Harold Fewey, the mission chief, was tired of the victim's overly careful nature, while Betty Hawkins, the victim's colleague, respected Segan's work. Fewey, however you want to say it. And then there's FBI agent Johnson, who's convinced Segan was a Soviet ally. His previous undercover work obviously made him paranoid and... Matthew, what's that? Red alert. I repeat, red alert. Unidentified individual on the launch pad. And I'll see you guys for Chapter 3. Okay, we are back. Let's start Chapter 3 of Houston, We Have a Problem. We last left off with that. Unidentified individual on the launch pad, and someone stopped this dreadful sound. Individual is in his late 30s, beard, long hair, and many tattoos. Long hair, a beard, and tattoos, but that sounds like Kai. What's he doing out there? Officer Matthew, you know this man? Get him out of here! Right away, sir. Matthew, I'm so sorry. I didn't know I'd set off the alarms. I didn't want to wait any longer to place the beacon. Kai, I hate to sound like Amy, but she told us to wait for a reason. We can't risk time arriving in the middle of our investigation. Just head back to the time machine, okay? At least the beacon's set, Matthew. We might as well leave it. But now we need to solve the murder even faster before time gets here. Matthew, since the mission chief is furious because of Kai's trespassing, I suggest you give him some space and return to the diner. That's old school. That telephone. Matthew, this is some kind of award. There's our victim's name on it, but there's also some faded text. I'll grab your brush. And what's this torn piece of paper? Let's stick it back together. You're right. We may find something amongst those diner dishes. Let's dig in, Matthew. We only have so much time before the rescue mission gets here. Betty Hawkins. Our victim's name has been crossed out on this award, and Betty's name has been added instead. Did Betty think she deserved the award instead of him, Matthew? Let's go ask the mathematician. Miss Hawkins, we found this award. It was meant for Mr. Seekin, but your name's been added, and his crossed out. Because it should have been mine. Mr. Seekin stole it from me. Stole it? How so? I'd work and he'd take the credit. Said we women go from being our father's daughters to our husband's wives to our baby's mothers, and that no one would take me seriously. Our work got him nominated for the Space and Science Award. I hoped he'd take this opportunity to tell the science world that we were a team and that I deserved recognition. I started working out to look my best for the ceremony. I was ready to finally enter the spotlight. But he brushed me aside. Mr. Seekin never wished for me to be his equal. He just wanted to steal my glory. But now that he's gone, I can have the spotlight all to myself. Mr. Seekin sounds like an awful colleague, but Officer Matthew and I hope he didn't push you too far. It's a check. You'll get nothing from me, sis. Matthew, this is a check from our victim, but it just says, you'll get nothing from me, sis. So his sister was asking him for financial help, and Seekin refused. I agree, Matthew. Clearly, the victim and his sister weren't on good terms. Let's go ask Joan about it. Miss Seekin, we found this check from your brother, and guess my brother will be a downer till the very end. Let me just take a swig of Moonbeam before we continue. Alright, loves? A girl's gotta grieve, you know. Are you allowed to drink at work? That doesn't seem like a good idea. But we have other matters to focus on. Officer Matthew has reason to believe you and your brother were fighting. Thomas was my parents' favorite. He made big bucks at Sarah while I'd spend months looking for a job. And even now that I have a job, I'm still struggling to pay rent. I just wanted her to put some cash aside for me, but he wouldn't. That space place is full of ego, Officer Matthew. They've got their heads in the clouds while the rest of us have our feet on the ground. But in the end, we all finish in the same place. Radio or audio recorder. What's this audio recorder doing in those dishes? You're right, man. It has our victim's name on it. Let's send the victim's audio recorder to Marina. If there's anything good on it, she'll find it. 9 hours. And I'll see you when this is done. For now, this is Matthew. See you then. Okay, we are back, and we're going to get the results of the audio recorder. Oh dear, Matthew. Kai sure got into trouble for placing the beacon. I can't believe he sneaked out without telling Amy. Yeah, but you can't blame him for wanting to help. Anyway, did you find anything interesting on that audio recorder? Yes, Segan recorded all his interviews and tests on this device. And some of it is relevant to your investigation. See, Segan had regular consultations with the astronaut, Mark Hamilton. Hamilton tried to derail the conversation to talk about himself rather than answer Segan's questions. But Segan was never interested in talking about the astronaut's personality, which made Hamilton angry. Hamilton neglected to mention he had issues with the victim. I agree, Matthew. We should have another talk with Hamilton. Mr. Hamilton, Officer Matthew knows that you held some resentment against Mr. Segan. Who told you that? Okay, fine. Segan was always so focused on his research that he never took the time to focus on me. Sure, going to the moon is amazing for mankind, blah, 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 but who is going to the moon? Me! I'm the one performing this miracle. See, for Segan, I was just another test monkey to be probed and inspected. But I deserve the utmost respect, Officer Matthew. Everyone else bowed down to me. The mission chief and the FBI agent admire me so much that they got the same pair of army boots as me. But not Segan. He was a lab rat and he died like one. What goes around comes around. Matthew, I had a talk with Kai about recklessly placing the beacon earlier. We'd agreed to wait till you solved the investigation before moving on with the marooning protocol. Sure, but at least now all we need to do is wait to be rescued. It's not a massive deal, is it? Well, Time's rescue mission should arrive a few hours after we set the beacon, and they can't land when the whole of Sarah is on high alert because of a murder. Leave the investigation part to us, Amy. Turns out that the victim wasn't the picture-perfect engineer we initially thought. Betty Hawkins, the mathematician, hated Segan for not sharing the spotlight, just by providing half the work. His sister was angry that the victim wouldn't help her out financially. And the astronaut was upset the engineer didn't revere him. Sounds like you got a few good motives there, Matthew. I suggest you return to the scene of the crime to search for more clues. Okay, I see the goggles. But it didn't add up to extra stars. You're right, Matthew. That looks like the missing paddle from the defibrillator used to kill our victim. There's some black substance on the paddle. Let's retrieve a sample. You checked for a security camera. How smart of you. I didn't even think they had those in the 60s. Let's unlock it and see what this camera recorded. Moment, folks. All right. You think they would actually have both things available to a point where you can just not get credited with the wrong answer if you checked there before. So I'm pretty sure I checked that spot where the second one was earlier. Let's get the substance from the paddle to Theo, Matthew. Got it. Let's send the unlocked camera to Kai, Matthew. And we'll see you guys when both of these are done. Don't go anywhere. Alright, we are back. I'm in a different place this time. Matthew, I hear we should be rescued in a few hours, just in time for high tea with my sisters. I'm not a fan of tea, but maybe you and I could go for a celebratory drink once we're home. I love that, Zara. Check something real quick here. Okay, I think my camera's working okay. So if you see that, pardon me for that. Anyway, let's talk about that sample you sent me. Yes, it came from one of the paddles from the defibrillator used to kill our victim. What was it? It was a mix of dirt, but there was also some blood in there. The blood type was A negative, which doesn't match your victim's, so it's your killer's. Knowing the killer's blood type is A negative brings us one step closer to finding them, Matthew. Currently have a McDonald's meal with me right now, but that's besides the point. Okay, Amy really bent my ear about sneaking out and placing the beacon, Matthew. But I just feel like our being stranded is my fault. Kai, none of this is your fault. We were sabotaged, and thanks to your beacon, Time will surely rescue us soon. But let's focus on the investigation. Did you discover anything from that camera we found on the crime scene? Yes, it actually filmed part of the murder. Based on your killer's movements, it was obvious they knew the camera was there, so I didn't see their face. But I did zoom in on a mission badge your killer had on their clothes. So our killer was a mission badge. Well, they won't be part of this moon landing mission much longer. Alright, Matthew, we have blasted through the evidence and can now confront Segan's killer. You see, the window's right there, but I'm going to move over a little bit here, so sit tight. Okay. Okay, that's a lot better. Now, get this killer behind bars. Nope, it's not Harold Fooey. It's the astronaut, Mark Hamilton. Mr. Hamilton, you murdered Mr. Segan. Me? Kill my chance to prove my greatness? You got the wrong guy, Officer Matthew. I don't think so. You were angry that Mr. Segan wouldn't see you for the hero you thought you were. You confronted him on the launch pad and pushed him to the ground. You used your strength to hold him there and make him admit that you're the star of the mission. And when he refused, you pressed a defibrillator against his head. No, I didn't. How could you kill him? You were both working on the same mission. Was proving your superiority over Segan really that important to you? Stop it! Okay, I confess, I killed Segan, but not for the reason you think. I only killed Segan to stop the mission, to save myself from being sent to the moon. Officer Matthew, I can't go to space. There's no air up there. And the moon, are you crazy? What if I stay up there forever? Just thinking about it makes me feel sick. I mean, it's space. It's infinite and scary. And did you see the rocket? It's just a flimsy metal. It's just flimsy metal. How is that going to get me to the moon and back? But who could I tell my fears to? For months now I've been boasting about being a hero. I couldn't just suddenly admit that I was scared. I had to take matters into my own hands. So I went to the rocket early this morning thinking I could tamper with it and cancel the launch. That's when Segan showed up. He saw me freaking out and tried to calm me down, but his voice was extra noise and I started getting dizzy. Then I realized his brain was behind the space mission. His brain was the reason I was being sent to the moon. Get rid of the brain and you get rid of the mission. This is crazy. You've lost all control, Mr. Hamilton. We're taking you to Agent Johnson. Agent Johnson, the man responsible for Mr. Segan's murder is Mark Hamilton, the astronaut meant to go on the space mission. What? Mr. Hamilton, what possessed you to do such a thing? I couldn't go through with the mission. It was too scary. So not only are you a murderer, but you are also a coward. And you betrayed your country by postponing Sarah's greatest feat. The FBI will handle this. Officer Matthew, although I am grateful you found this killer, you must forget about this investigation. The papers can't get a hold of this story. Matthew, is it true? Did an astronaut actually kill an engineer so that he wouldn't go to the moon? Yeah, Sarah and the FBI are going to keep it out of the papers. I guess that might be the reason why we've never heard of this murder. I mean, if it actually did happen in our history. Perhaps. In any case, well done on wrapping it up so quickly. At least now Time's rescue ship won't arrive in the midst of a murder investigation. It's actually a little surprising that they're not here already. Should be any minute now. And we'll see you guys for Times Are Changing 3-5. And we're back. Let's start Times Are Changing 3-5. Alright, Matthew, a mysterious saboteur may have stranded us in the past, but we followed marooning protocol and help is surely on its way. We left Chief Scott a letter in New York and today have set up the beacon that'll guide Time's rescue ship. Don't know exactly when and where we are. They should land any minute now. Amy, didn't you say we'd be rescued any minute? Because this is the longest minute of my life. I'm sure the ship is coming. We did everything according to protocol, followed every detail. We just need to be patient. Matthew, I'm sure the rescue mission's on its way here and will arrive very soon. It has to. Face it, Amy, no one's coming. Of course someone's coming. Time wouldn't leave us stranded in, well, time. It's just taking a lot longer than the protocol said it would. So what, we should wait around forever? Following the rules isn't always the best way. Clearly nobody's picking us up. I kind of have to agree, and the beacon's gonna run out of power soon. But I've actually got an idea for a plan B, Matthew. Yes, action. Although first I should tell you the beacon's microphone picked up chatter near the launch site. It seems that mission chief is looking for you. What could he want? Hopefully nothing dire is happening with the moon landing mission. That historical event must take place today, or else too much will change. Okay, Matthew, take Jack and see what Mr. Fooey wants. Then you and I will talk to Kai. Officer Matthew, I need your help. The president says that even though we have a replacement for that cuckoo astronaut, the moon landing mission is canceled. Says we need more time. But we can't let the Soviets win the space race, Officer Matthew. The mission needs to happen today. Believe me, we know. If I could just prove that we're ready. Segan planned it all before he was killed, but his checklist isn't on his desk. Running his checks will get us the green light for the launch. That girl's meant to check the numbers from the checklist, the smart one. Then we could push for the launch. Officer Matthew is right. Mr. Segan was on the launch pad before he died, so that must be where the checklist is. Let's go. Sarah is grateful for your help, Officer Matthew. Grateful for your help. Here, Officer Matthew, take this. Okay. Got it. Uh-oh. Okay, 10,000 coins. Matthew, I know we're all worried about time not coming to our rescue, but can you believe what we're doing? I wasn't even born when the moon landing happened, and now here I am helping set up the launch. You're right, Matthew. This clipboard says countdown checks. It must be Segan's checklist. Let's reveal the faded text and help make history. High five, Matthew. This looks like the engineer's checklist. We're one step closer to sending men to the moon. The mission chief told us to get this to the mathematician for her to do the checks herself. I'll get her this checklist and stay with her till she's done. Now let's talk to Kai. Kai, I don't understand why time hasn't come to pick us up. What could be going on in 2029? I wish I knew, Amy. But I do have news concerning the damage the Saboteur did to our time machine. I discovered that the Saboteur actually messed with the Conditional Time Probability Formula, or CTP, in our main computer. That's what fried our triphasal cortex. Basically, Matthew, the fried cortex was a symptom, not the problem. See, time traveling requires not only advanced materials, but also advanced mathematical formulas, which is what the Saboteur modified. So the Saboteur broke the coding formula. How can we correct this? Well, I'm no scientist like Chief Scott. My area of expertise is limited to mechanics. But I do know what could help me make sense of those formulas, Matthew. Matthew, time travel is based on the treatise Leonardo da Vinci wrote in 1512 called Ruminations on Time. We now know just how far ahead of his time Da Vinci was. Time actually based all their research on his work. But before that, the treatise went from art collector to art collector, seen merely as a precious object, not groundbreaking science. Alright, so if we want to get our hands on it, we need to figure out who owned it in 1969. But how? There was no internet at the time. There was no internet, but there were networks, and Sarah was connected to the biggest one. If I could get their main hard drive from the control room, I get all the information needed to access the network. It's connected to all the US universities and government buildings of the time, so the whereabouts of a priceless antique book should pop up. Great! Then let's all go to the mission control room, Matthew. that was a god-awful start. Oh, there's the safe. Locked computer tower. Good thing you have full access to this place, Matthew. Matthew, that processing unit is locked. Sarah's main hard drive must be in there. The hard drive will have all the access codes to their network, where we'll find information on the Time Treatise's whereabouts. Matthew, think you could crack that computer tower lock? One, 3, 3. 3, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay. Got it. Wow, Matthew, the hard drive from the computer tower is pretty slim for its time. Sarah was really cutting edge. So this hard drive will help you access the network and find out where the treatise is. Yes, I just need a little time, Matthew. I'll get to work right here. This is 6 hours, and I'll see you guys when both of these are finished. Do not go anywhere. Okay, we have come back. Let's get the results of the hard drive. Okay, Matthew, thanks to the access codes on the hard drive, I was able to search through the networks for information on ancient artifacts. And I got a hit for the treatise. It was recently auctioned off to a certain Lorna Westerberg. Lorna Westerberg? Matthew, she was a famous Hollywood actress at the time. She plays in all my favorite black and white movies. Well, we're going to have to find her to get that treatise. Find her? But that means leaving Houston, doesn't it? What about the rescue mission? They're picking us up here. Amy, you must realize that the hope of getting rescued is getting slimmer every hour. I do, but... oh dear, what should I do? Chief Scott would have a mismatched quotation up his sleeve to give us all an energy boost. Okay, I know. Kai, you keep working and find out where Lorna Westerberg is. We'll stay in Houston for 3 more days. If by then time hasn't arrived, we'll go find the actress and that treatise. You're the boss. I'll report back when I get some info on where Lorna is. Officer Matthew, I'm so glad you found Mr. Segan's checklist. I validated the rocket equations and thermodynamics as well as the subsets. I also checked that the hypersonic stability is in the right window and that the eject mass acceleration equation is valid, which they are. That sounds like rocket science to me. There's no mathematical reason that the launch can't happen today. Great. Officer Matthew, let's go tell the mission chief the launch can happen as planned. Good news, sir. We found Mr. Segan's checklist. Miss Hawkins did the math and signed off on the launch. Who cares about some dumb checklist, Officer Matthew? The launch is off. But everything looks good. What's the problem now? That crazy astronaut hid the key to the main control panel. All our computers are worthless unless I can access it, which means the mission is postponed indefinitely. Indefinitely? Pull yourself together, man. Are you really going to give up on making today a historic day? Are you going to let the Soviets walk on the moon before us? No, you're right, Officer Matthew. There isn't much time left before the launch opportunity window closes. The key's gotta be hidden somewhere around here. Then Officer Matthew and I will search the control room until we find it. Grab a bite while you do, officers. Okay. Checking something out, but yes, it seems everything's in order. There we go. Matthew, this is a personal preference kit, or PPK. Astronauts would put belongings in there to take to space. This one apparently belongs to Mark Hamilton. He's the one the mission chief suspects to have hidden the key. I agree, Matthew. We should search his kit. There it is. Matthew, that must be the key to the control panel. The astronaut did hide it in his kit. Crazy to think such a basic key is what unlocks an incredible mission. Let's get this key to the mission chief. The launch has to happen today, or it will have serious historical repercussions. Give him the key. Officer Matthew, now that we have the key to the control panel, we can synchronize the computers for the launch. And allow me to introduce to Neil. He's Hamilton's replacement. Officer Matthew, this is an amazing opportunity. It feels like I was meant to be on this mission. I would have preferred different circumstances, of course, but yeah, whatever. Go finish your pre-launch tests, Neil. 2 hours left before you go to the moon. As for you, Officer Matthew, protocol forbids you to be in the control room during the launch. I'm sorry, but you gotta get out of here. Wait, I got you a little something. Not sure what size you wear, but the Sarah gift shop lady swore this is all the rage with the youth right now. So, time still hasn't shown up. No, we might need to move on to a plan B. Kai's working on it now. Cool, but let me just say that Matthew and I helped set up the actual moon landing mission. Totally insane, right? Amazing, well done. I'm glad that at least one thing went according to plan today. You know, we could do with some cheering up. How about we go watch the launch? That does sound cheerful, and this is too momentous an occasion to miss out on. Alright, let's go, but be careful nobody sees us. Here we are, Matthew, about to watch the first time men were launched to the moon. Did I mention how much I love time travel? Matthew, this is what our royal priests must have meant back in Egypt when they spoke of future conquests of the stars. Matthew, the rocket is about to launch. Take a look. 3, 2, 1, blast off! Excuse me. I'm dealing with a slight cold. I still can't believe we got to watch the famous launch, Matthew, and now Neil is moments away from landing on the moon. Speaking of which, look. Houston, we are in the clear. This may be one small step for man, but it's one great leap for mankind. This is terribly unlike me, Matthew, but in times like these, even I get emotional. It's a relief to see that the big events of history are on track, despite all the small changes that have been propagating since we got stranded. That's great and all, but we've been in Houston for 3 days and time hasn't come pick us up. It's time for that plan B, Amy. Yes, Kai's found a potential way to fix the time machine despite the saboteur's best efforts. He's narrowed down the problem to a tricky bit of mathematics only Chief Scott could have wrangled. But the principles of it are laid down in a book by Leonardo da Vinci. If we get our hands on this book, we might be able to fix the machine. Great, so where's the book? The famous actress Lorna Westerberg has it, and I've tracked her down in Las Vegas. Does this mean what I think it means? Yes, Matthew, we're going to Vegas. The 9th island for Hawaii. A place I haven't been to since 1994, I believe. Alright. On May 9th, that's another Thursday. Okay. And I'll see you guys on May 9th. My spring semester's over. I'll see you guys then. So for now, this is Matthew. Thank you for watching.